November 22 elections are coming up, and this is not about you, whoever's listening. Carolyn, have your husband make sure that his siblings and their families' information is completely scrubbed as best they can from the internet. The Conservative Party believes that they are going to believe the new Prime Minister believes that Great Britain is his. Via Camilla, he believes he has control over the royal houses of Europe via the Royal House of Windsor, which we are of. The 1%, the new money, and those of the old who view this moment as a close moment where they can finally have overturned the Constitution and the Magna Carta. But King Charles believes that the Magna Carta being overturned gives him power, when the reality is the Magna Carta overturned means they are free to remove him. He'll remove himself, he just doesn't realize it. Camilla, the Queen Consort Camilla, is nothing more than a plant. Her connections are to Hollywood, and all of those individuals that she has relied on over the years to terrorize the House of Windsor. As I said, Queen Elizabeth, Her Majesty, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, elevated her to Queen Consort not as a protection for her life, but an imprisonment of her son. And then asked me to do what I must and to go into the contract that I really have no one wants to deal with, to be honest with you. I don't, you know me better than anyone. I really not a, I don't like, I don't like any of this. I don't want to deal with any of this. I hate that my privacy has been gone. But it's because I want nothing of this. It's because I just want to be left the fuck alone, but that's not going to happen. That Her Majesty did what Her Majesty did. Our brother is being played. Our brother and our mother. I don't know where. I assume she's living with you, but our brother has been manipulated through his idiotic, fat, lazy piece of shit wife because of our mother. As she lost herself farther and farther and farther, and she was more abusive and more abusive and abusive to us. Instead of protecting us, she attacked us. And these same, so, I would never usually say anything about family, especially publicly. It's not anyone's damn business. And some of the things I've had to say were meant to be said after mommy's transition. King Charles, I will say the rest about that when I address the greater family. to please make sure everyone's information. I know one of his siblings, because of being married to whom that of their profession, of their spouse's profession, should have everything removed. But if it's not, please make sure all that is done. Because if I cannot complete this task, everyone's life is in danger. Black Americans have no idea of this game. We know it innately. This is what Dorma was trying to destroy in us. What she destroyed in our brother. Prince William, Prince Harry, Princess Anne, and Prince Andrew. Queen Elizabeth II, your mother and grandmother, assigned, well, not just assigned, but asked of me a task. Because as an American, you can assign me whatever, I can do what I want. But as a royal, I am also bound by duty. And I went into this. Your Prince King Charles III is attempting not to uphold the contract. And he is walking into the trap the Conservative Party has laid for him. A new prime minister came up when they thought I was defeated. And then he had the gall to talk about our country. And the our he was speaking of was not the people. And it was not us either. While I do believe he'll be an excellent prime minister, but he will destroy. Their plan is to destroy all the social services, return the people to squalor, and then feed off of that pain. Instead of building, they just want to take. This is especially what they've learned from the Russians. And judging from the performance of the army, you see where those ends. And we still don't know which one of them is attempting to overthrow the crown. The Queen Consort Camilla is their plant. They whisper in her ear, she whispers in Charles. And then you have a feedback loop. Oh, the glory they think they will have. There will be no glory for them. The crown will go on. What they are expecting is that right now, with everything's going on, the Democrats will not, from the most Caucasians' perspective, the Democratic Party is the party of the niggers, to use colloquialism. And just as Hillary Clinton knew they would behave in a certain manner, which I'll extrapolate on Father. They are doing exactly that, as expected. They've been trained to do that. There was a time I was in, over by Trestles at a dealing with that idiot in L.A. And it was at a hostel, and I was talking to this dude, and there's a black African American. He was working there, and he was just acting stupid. I was talking to this other guy, and I sat there and I told him, I said, and he couldn't understand why. I mean, I was annoyed, but he couldn't understand why I wasn't super pissed. And I said to him, that's that's how they controlled. That's how they were controlled. That's how they controlled such a large population. So, I mean, I was pissed, but it makes it worse because so that's I've known about this behavior and been able to describe this behavior long before now, and the implications of that behavior, and how they've been mostly trained to essentially enslave themselves. And to attack anyone who does not enslave themselves. So, from their perspective, getting my brother into the mechanics means they will destroy. They're thinking they'll be able to use my sister-in-law, which is the same, to control everything, to destroy the mechanics, which then essentially destroys Parliament, which then destroys the Magna Carta. And then they can roll that over to finish the destruction of the Constitution of the United States of America, built on principles of the Enlightenment, which is, as we know, Kant in the Critique of Pure Reason, because he said, "Oh, you can't just have pure reason, but yeah, it's better than the opposite end, which is ruled by man, as opposed to reason, which is truly ruled by divine." And granted, Kant came after the Enlightenment, but the Enlightenment, in effect, it was the Kant. I always get those timelines. Yeah, but it's that is the situation because it came up. This is where we're at. Many assume that Trump would just create the groundwork, which at present he has. The Constitution's in tatters. We have half of the population believing that the Southern Constitution in action is the Constitution when it's not. What is happening is, as I went live, as I've shown from the Yoga Works, because I had 7 days. When I said 7 days, because I was testing to see, okay, where's my body at? How's the response? They cut off the ability for me to do the yoga, and I'm like, okay. But they did not know that I knew that Yoga Works was actually owned by a hedge fund. Now you look at it, which then you go over to the links, and that's Stradvitas. Two, when I'm trading, something else, one of their main tactics is they've been trying to do is devalue me. Remember Elon Musk saying, "Oh, patents are for the weak." Well, that was the same thing that we have in the United States. First to invent is because Edison was stealing everyone's ideas and then running down to the patent office. Granted, in Europe it is first to patent, which is corporate heavy, and their corporations are trying to switch it from first to invent to first to as a way of theft, to first to put in to file, but it's $10,000, $12,000 minimum to file a patent or even a copyright. So Elon Musk is working for the 1%. All of his BS. Him buying Twitter is basically him buying Hyde Park. and then saying he'll tell us. So the board, and because the board pushed it through, we know who's doing what. They keep trying to steal the people's rights. And then tell the people not to fight back. This is very dangerous for the crown and for the globe. Also, they keep trying to steer me into going to Washington before, but as you know, they here's the thing: they're trying to create the narrative and the purpose of and the sentence of the narrative of who I am, and I cannot allow that to happen. I cannot go to D.C. as just a poor broke person, and that's what they're trying to do. I cannot go to D.C. because in the First Amendment of the Constitution, you have three different ways. You have your voice, then you can write, which is the post office. Why they were attacking the post office, the only business in the Constitution, and then physically as a gathering of a single individual approach redress of grievances. If I go as redress of grievances, it's just a simple vet. Granted, there's nothing. Technically, there is nothing wrong with that, but the way the American people, the Caucasians, view things, then you were just a vet who couldn't. Easiest way is they view black melanated persons who go into the militaries. That's the only thing they have, and then Caucasians who go in. Oh, they're being heroes. In other words, when it's the exact opposite in my case. So the narrative. So if you, the main thing the quote Sith do is they give you the emotion and they take the asset. I cannot let them have. I don't want their emotion. I will take the asset. And they're doing everything to try to steal my assets. As you saw with over my entire life, from wrestling to the military to even to the course director, not the university, because that's not the culture of the university. This course director was going counter to the culture of the university. And then even right now, the Democratic Party does not even have the guts. 200,000 is nothing. And then also, if Stacey Abrams wins, because especially because I'm going to explain something to you about a pattern that is very prevalent around amongst African Americans, more specifically African American women in general, but the the way African American women have used it, they've actually used it to enslave themselves and their own culture even further. And it is the danger that's with Lady Markle, not so much Lady Markle herself, but Lady Markle's mother. And I'll get to that in a second. So you have the situation, that keeps, I have to go to business management just to see what's up and what's changed because I don't really know. They're trying to keep me go, oh, you need to go to Washington. No, I cannot work for a political party and maintain the contract. King George knows that. That's what he was having McRaven try to do. That's the reason I won't leave. That's the reason, and he's keep trying to push me out. I'm like, no, I will not go to Washington without my full self, which means both as Great Britain and the Commonwealth and as voting citizen. So more than likely, they're going to try to do something to try to, well, they really can't touch my voting rights anymore. And so the other thing is my original mentor, he is passed, and then that lodge happened to be no longer, as I found out. And so now I know that my sister and brother-in-law, my sister's trying making her sister-in-law, my sister-in-law is trying making herself look all good, whatever, when she's an absolutely horrible human being. And King George thinks he's going to run everything through my brother. And I will tell you what, this is what, you know what, if my brother, if King George, because see, Doma came into our family and she thought, my brother thinks that he was able to bully us, and we then was like, go fuck yourself. It's just, pardon the colloquial, but it's, you don't get to kiss off, And our sister-in-law has the same behavior and pattern traits of Camilla and Kathleen Kennedy. Except doesn't with Kathleen Kennedy, she's the second generation. Camilla's like, whatever. But Camilla is not royal. She does not understand the innateness of how we are taught and how we behave. She does not have the genetic memories or cultural memories to tap into. She has no understanding. And in her zealousness for power, she's destroying the exact thing that she thinks she so covets. So what's going to happen is I am going to back to Florida. They want me to go to this is the thing, that go to DC and then you can go back to the lodge. No, it can't happen that way. Because then it goes, well, we allowed you. I'm not asking for their permission. They can go stick up their buttocks. And then and then they do it that way, and even though they'll say, oh, you can go to the lodge now, blah blah blah, their behaviors will be of a thinking they are in a dominant position. Can't do that, because then that puts the crown at risk. Just as my sister-in-law puts the crown at risk. My brother is not my brother. He has lost his innateness. He's been so beaten down. Granted, I respect what he's become, how all the work he's done, accomplishments within that realm, but she stole everything from him. And she thinks she's going to do it again. So one of the things I was talking about is so how did she do it? How does it? Our mother, see, we have an innate trust. We trust ourselves. We believe in ourselves. We're taught to believe in ourselves. Fall down, get back up. You can be your best. That is always what you hear from the smallest age, as you know this. Lady Markle's mother, and this is one thing, Princess Anne, kindly take Lady Markle under your wing, because Lady Markle's mother was the one keeping Lady Markle from learning from Queen Elizabeth II. So that way she can think she is control, that she is power, when she is nothing. And if she keeps going this way, she is not royal, and she is becoming a greater and greater threat to the crown and the royal family. And that's all I will say about that. And to clarify, Lady Markle's mother. And there's nothing Lady Markle can do about it unless she wishes to be divorced. Oh, actually, she has her title, so yeah, there's still nothing she can do about it. Lady Markle still has not gotten an understanding. This is it's a small club, and she's knowing it, and she really doesn't understand it. She doesn't have the innateness of it, the childhood training. She probably, if you were to ask her what does several mean and a few, she would say, "Oh, it's this and this," and she would not understand it. She probably sees it now with Prince Harry and raising of the young ones. And her mom would definitely start to try to undo everything Prince Harry's doing. That's what makes her dangerous, because the kids will grow up not understanding the rhythms of their class. To give this fact, Lady Markle did not go, she left Prince Harry in a situation where he had to go to a public situation by himself. And this is one of the things that my mother did, would do, that because we know better. You stay, you know, especially at a funeral, and you support the people who have supported you. The main tactic my mother uses is the whole slow, 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 slow. This is the same thing that Miss Tiffany Cross is doing. She's going to try to claim that she's the one who got Warnock and Stacey Abrams. But the fact is, they, Stacey Abrams might lose. There's a high probability Stacey Abrams will lose. Because, but she would dip in every so often, and it's like, no, I know what you're up to. You're not listening to anything I was saying. You weren't acting on the things I was asking you to do. No, you're not putting that on me. That's all on Miss Tiffany Cross. That's how I knew where the camera was at. I had an idea. I left that thing without my notebook under the where I thought she was, and she told me where the camera was at when she did her little Africa thing. And then she goes off, you know, Dawn. She gets her insurance with when I was doing the ALU. She gets her planning and everything. Shit, things she had never thought of, her financial planning and everything, and she keeps making this mess. Then she was gonna say it wasn't me. That's what Black American women do, and that's what Lady Markle's mother is doing. My mom, I have. She stole my. I got out of the military when I first walkabout. I have a lot of rings. I only right now that crappy silver ring, but I have custom Hopi rings that I was picking up. My mom stole them when I went back home after I first walkabout. I can't find them. I get back from the military. She steals my passport. My mom is absolutely horrible. I can't. If she was not my mother, I would want absolutely nothing to do with her. They're good at hiding. They're good at being good out in the public and absolutely horrible in private. And as long as you do not, as long as Lady Markle's mom has control over Lady Markle, she puts the entire family, the entire crown at risk. And it is the exact same thing that my sister-in-law is doing to my brother. And that has to be cut out, because this affects millions, if not billions, of people's lives. And all they care about is looking good, holding the little bauble, but they want none of the responsibility. Same as the Queen Consort Camilla. Yes, I definitely need to go to Washington, especially by the 14th is the most important day because that's the day that 45 has to physically appear. I need love to go and have a little conversation with my particular congressional representative about that whole thing about separation of church and state or religion and state not being in the Constitution when it's in the Constitution in the original and then the tools, which are the amendments. It's the First Amendment. The first tool to keep the Constitution together is freedom of religion. How dare her? And then babble about the Constitution. I don't think she reads or can understand. So I need to have that little conversation. She's gonna not show up, but I need, at least need to get there. And then I gotta. So. King Charles and the conservatives, because what they're thinking is, I'm going to go to Florida, I am going to knock, and because they control my brother, or if they're not going to answer, or if they're going to answer, they think that my brother will be able to bully me, and good luck with that. Let me explain to you why I walked away from my family to protect my sister and my nephew. So I get out of the military. I'm sitting there, originally I had picked out a place because I knew I was going to go back, but I just needed to decompress. My mother knows that I do not do one thing. If I'm doing something, I have probably thought it out farther than what it looks like. And I had come, I said, hey, I'm going back. I'm going to get back in the fight because I really loved my job. I loved what I did. I loved getting up in the morning knowing that even in the smallest way, I was making a difference in this world. And two, I wasn't going to let that little POS win. But I get home. First thing I was getting a little apartment down by the river. There was a little bar I can chill out. And the main thing, had enough space to ride my bike to classes and back because that's how I was going to work it out. But it happened to be kind of near a it's called a Booker. I think it was Booker T neighborhood, Booker T, Washington. And in the South and in America in general, what they'll do is they'll name African American neighborhoods so that it's so people will know, oh, this is where the blacks live. Martin Luther King, all this. So, but I didn't look at that. I looked at it. It was right on the river. I grew up on the river. I mean, I grew up in Brevard County. I know the river up and down. Me and Dano, just it's home. It's by the water. But she let me know, and I'm like, gosh. And she waits right till you about to make you're about to make the jump, and I, we trusted our mother. I, still, didn't trust her. I never really have trusted her since I was a kid, but you still have that innate trust. But what she did, she knew that throws me off. I had to move to a different apartment, different rhythm. Everything just started to fall apart. I ended up back at home with her, which was, as I ended up realizing, that was her goal. And then she was trying to steal my stuff. I ended up just letting all my stuff that I had accumulated, my paintings and everything else in storage. Because I wasn't going to give it to my mom. I was damned if after I sat there and I watched her and I was doing these experiments, behavioral experiments, going, Oh, I remember this happening when I was such and such age. Let me do this all over again. And then she would do the behavior. Or I was sitting there talking to a woman. My mom's over in the window. And then her behavior would, then she would start doing things. So I'm countering her shit. And I definitely believe Dr. Romney's statement about antagonistic, we shouldn't call narcissism a disorder because no one's enlightened. Any type of behavior is not a disorder unless we're all become enlightened, but it can be, say, personality style without a doubt. Antagonistic personality style. Because as my mom was decompressed from the culture of our upbringing and then being around black African Americans, instead of being like Lady Jessica and raising them, they pulled her down. And then she started attacking her children. My sister, my brother, my sister, and I. And my sister and I did not succumb. But I never, but you see the damage that was done, that has been done, because we would have we actually tried to support her. Hey, go get your education. Hey, why don't you do this? Hey, her family did. Miss Mercer's, my sister-in-law's brother did, and even her sister. But instead, her lazy ass just keeps pulling us down, using our mother to attack us. So continuing on. So I'm seeing this situation, I'm studying this. Now, I had already, as I've stated earlier, I had already created knew that, and so now I'm getting pulled away. I'm not getting back into the military. I'm, my degree, and now I realize my mom had been undercutting me, getting my degree, getting my education, which is a family that has hundreds upon hundreds of years of education. To attack our education is absolutely nonsensical. Actually, thousands of years of education is nonsensical. And so, where was I? And so I end up getting back home, and I'm okay. I'm part of the thing because I'd already started the real estate kind of thing while I was in the military, trying, so learning business, doing those things. And I had realized about that '07 was going to be a crash. And I knew this. And my mom was kind of humoring me, so to speak. But when I said to her, I said, hey, yeah, everything's done, man, because I did all the numbers, figured it out, prepared, and I was going to go in work with her to buy some stuff. And I said, hey, when we're done, and this is what bothers me the most, is when I said, you've worked all these years, you've sacrificed, because, oh, this sacrifice, whatever. She was given opportunities out the wazoo, so there was no sacrifice in it. At this point, that fact, Val Demings, why Stacey Abrams, why Val Demings is listening to what I'm saying and working the process that we're laying down. As chief of police, she would have known who my mother was. If she didn't know, if she would have had the ability to, because her works are still very much part of Florida. Two, the things I was saying about Florida, only somebody who's exceptionally connected or understands gets it. Because the things I was saying about Florida, most Floridians don't even know. Especially the political things. About the fung holes and everything like that. She would have found out who my neighbors were. You might realize, yeah, when I said so as chief of police, she would have known who, or had access to knowing what I understood. understand. And so, where was I? So my mom was continuously attacking, and my mom had all these opportunities. So her thing about, yeah, it's a bunch of BS. It was just her playing her little game, not being courageous. Gave her, was a communal excuse. And then she would attack my dad. My dad did ask her to marry her. I witnessed it myself several times. So it wasn't that he was being a bad man at all. Granted, she just was just, as she worked with black African Americans, they won't listen to you until you become them. And she never moved up, so she became worse. And I hate to have to say this, and I hate giving the world my private business. But it's the choice. This is what is at stake. Millions and billions of people's lives are at stake. Whatever. So, anyway, so I was building out, so I said to her, I was like, hey, you're going to make more money. You'll be able to retire, go do those trips and all those things you were talking about. Mailbox money coming in. It is at that time she started attacking me. The other thing that black African Americans tend to do is they go straight to the worst people if they're dealing with Caucasians who are throwing them under the bus. There was a time, like I said earlier, where I said was going to, it's a family thing. I brought my brother along to one of these investment things. And they're talking to him, and if you heard him, he does not have, his accent's been torn down and his rhythms and everything. It's just to poverty. He has an impoverished accent, so he has an impoverished thinking. And I'm watching these Caucasians, and they were doing the whole, well, let's work with him because then we can show that, oh, we know the black guy. When they're talking to me, they're like, they couldn't play that game with me. So I just look at him like, I ain't going there. That's stupid. I see what you're up to. That would enslave me. No, we're cool. But he was falling for it. And he might say, well, I've worked with him now. He's black. He's black African American. His culture, he has given up his Jamaican culture. He's given up regular Caucasian, just regular American culture, and he's into that subculture of poverty. And it's not even middle class black African American culture. He is impoverished. Poverty starts in the mind, then it breaks down the spirit. If it was not for who he was innately at the very beginning of his life, he would be in worse shape. And then you say, well, look at you, you're doing this. No, you don't get it. I refuse to give up my innateness. It's, right now, so I'll continue that and I'll get back to what's going on right now, especially with the trading and the hedge funds. Screw it. The hedge funds, they're hitting my position. They shouldn't be able to see my position when I'm trading. But I was watching, so I was getting, okay, my process works, I'm making money, but they were supposed to not be freaking broadcasting my position. But about a couple days ago, I realized something came out that let me know that my position was still being broadcast. So the hedge funds are hitting my position. That way, the family thinks I can't do what I can do, when normally they would have no idea where my position is at. And they're also using it because then you have all these other people out here, commoners following my position. So the hedge funds are just stacking up all those positions and cranking them down. And I was watching this. At first I was upset, but then I started looking at it. Like, wait a minute. Yeah, this process works. Why? What was happening when I would go live? Why was my positions always getting hit? It was not. And then I looked at the rhythm again and I went, ah. Actually, I saw it in between because there was one I was in, and they just and there that's there's a it's it's hard to explain because it's so subtle, but what is subtle to most is very obvious to me. And then that's when they hit me with the yoga because they didn't want me to be in shape and to be balanced, because as I get balanced, because I've purposely been staying unbalanced. So as I get balanced, I become way more dangerous from their perspective, because you can't deal with me when I'm only running at 10%. How in the hell they think they're going to be able to deal with me when I'm running at 90%? They know they can't. That's what makes me a threat. How many millions of dollars have they spent attacking me? I know how many people I've caught, not just in this little building. I know I'm being followed, being watched, data situations, millions of dollars. And then they want to steal my systems, and that's why I won't do anything. So I won't write a business plan. That's why I won't do anything, because it's all in my head, but I know how to do it. I know where to look. I know how to find the data. All of those things are there. But I have not given it away. And that's why Elon Musk was babbling some BS. When he puts something out into crowdsourcing, he's just using it to lower his engineering costs. And then also increase more people using it, so that way people use those patents. But he keeps the main patents for himself. I guarantee you that. And then if he doesn't, it's the brain engineering within the culture. But I guarantee you he's keeping patents. So but that was the whole thing. Oh, he's not doing, and I've heard persons of antagonistic personality styles do that. Well, you need to do this, so that way you give up their shit, and then they turn all the crowd into attacking that individual, so that way they give up their stuff. I ain't that Huckleberry. I'm a capitalist. And I know my value. And I didn't get a master's to not know my value. Elon Musk they also had Elon Musk to buy Twitter, basically privatizing Hyde Park. This is a very dangerous situation. Granted, it was privatized anyways, but they want to use Twitter to manipulate the minds of the country, send us to war, to get us get the people to accept absolutely crap wages. You know, they never, for instance, there's a thing here where we have a minimum wage. From a small business perspective, minimum wage, yeah, that's a big deal, dude, because that really cuts into your bottom line. And what they do is they hold the minimum wage down. Now we know that future value of money still, the value of a fiat currency is dropping, and so these large corporations use the the minimum wage and the future value wage as a profit center. So the minimum wage in the United States is like this unbearable. It's like $7. That's a $7 per hour profit center they view for themselves. And then, because if you raise the minimum wage, because it has been raised in a decade or two, quickly, it should be raised every 3 to 5 years. It shocks the system, and then the small business owners can't deal with it, and then they're upset, and then they blame the president, and then they blame the persons who are trying to actually help them out, help out the full economy, and then it, and then these small business owners then and non-small business owners, then the workers, then they blame the workers on the poor people, because poor is synonymous in many Caucasian Americans' minds. Poor means melanated, but it's really them. And then they sit there and then they use that to hold down their own wages and screw themselves. It's quite a vicious cycle of stupidity on their part. But they get to be on the team, kicking themselves in the groin. It's quite silly. So, because the Democratic Party is full of, quote, Negroes, and they're more worried, in the sadness part, they're more worried about undercutting, quote, my power and in re-enslaving themselves. Personally, I could care less. They're letting this chick free and clear. They're protecting this fucking gangbanger. And then they're going to say, well, if you only, now they pull that shit all the time. There's no if you did this or if you, nah, you can kiss my ass. This toddler thinks she can put me, have her little gangbanger fucking boyfriend threaten me and my family and then get away with it and then having to get, oh hell no. Oh hell no. If I'm going to the dark side, then she dies, and so does he. I don't do emotion. I like my emotions. I don't want yours. And that's what they're trying to play. That's how these antagonistic style personalities do their game. Here's some emotion, we'll take everything else. And it's usually the worst type of emotions they dump on you. To make that point, Prince Charles, Prince William, Prince Harry, and Princess Anne look to your uncle and brother and Prince Andrew. Did it seem a little strange him being out of uniform? Queen Elizabeth II stripped him of his titles as a warning to King Charles about the Queen Consort. What happened to your baby brother, Princess Anne? Just as what happened to our family. That's what happened to your brother. Why did Prince Andrew not grow? Because of her. Because of her influence. She played on Charles's insecurities. When Charles was on the throne last month or whatever, and she was sitting there as a woman, what was she saying? Ask yourself, as a woman, what was that woman saying? Every man knows the hell Charles was saying. Fuck you, I'm the king. But as a woman of power, Princess Anne, born of power, what was she really saying? The sword of Damocles sits atop her head. She yet knows it, not yet knows it. So I will describe it to her. Queen Consort Camilla. The sword of Damocles sits upon your head. It is not. It is just the tip sitting right on the hair, just over the center of your head, pressing so slightly into your skin. You feel that prick just there. The fire fries through your entire body. 1,000-pound sword is balanced on your head, just slowly sitting there, dangled by her hair. Oh, you try to move forward. Please, that would be more impressive, for the sword will slide through your neck and will keep you alive. And you will see the demons that you have released on others return to you. So I would suggest you stand up straight so that it cleaves cleanly. But you do know who controls that sword? Oh yes, the family you think you control. At any time and every time you see the brothers, Prince William, Prince Harry, if you dare attack Princess Anne or Prince Andrew, the sword of Damocles is sitting there, waiting to return through you. And who holds the scissors? Prince William. But the thing is, if you try to control him and his wife, Lady Middleton, or you attack Lady Markle and Prince Harry, Prince Harry's cleared hot. He has no compunction. The damage you did to his psyche, he does not have to forgive you, and nor should he, because you did this on purpose. You attacked him, and you attacked his family on purpose. And the moment you attack Prince William, I have no qualms. I have no doubt that hair will be cut. And there's nothing Parliament, nor the EU, nor the United States can do about it, for that's just a family matter. Because you would be a threat to the crown. And you are not royal-blooded, or Prince Charles would have married you. Things changed since that time, fortunately. You blink, you fart, you blow wind, whatever the hell you even have, think the thought that you have power or control over us, and we end you. And once we end you, Charles will shatter, and he'll end himself. And all your work will go off into the dust as a tragic reminder. Because you do not just affect the crown, the crown of England, but the House of Windsor, but you also affect the other noble houses of Europe and the great lodges of Europe. Putin and all these old families, well, Putin just used what these old families have been trying to do for some time. And they knew Charles could be played through you. I don't give a flip about you. And I'm pretty damn sure neither does Prince Harry. And while Prince William's a little bit, because you've a little bit less prone to ripping your head off because you smartly kind of kept your distance, I'm pretty sure he has nothing like any of you either. So Princess Anne, this is what I have. I have a request so that I can do what I must do to maintain the contract. I need to get to Florida and I need to get to DC, but I cannot do so as just a commoner. So I asked for a request, a loan, the $200,000 that the Democrats, because, well, they're Democrats. You know, they're the party of, quote, the niggers, and niggers never uphold their oaths. And the country wants to gaslight me, so whatever. $200,000, 7%, 11-year balloon, 22 years, 6 months first payment, and backed up by a life insurance policy to whatever entity that it comes from. And I need it by Monday. I hate asking, but I cannot go to DC as just a regular citizen. The implications, because if I do so, the implications is they'll just the 1% who are beneath us will still think they're in charge of things. They will think they can manage me as they manage my brother. And we know where they're going to manage us too, which is the destruction of this world for their own greed. Xi wants China, wants Taiwan, but it's not just Taiwan. He has stated that the ancient Chinese, well, that means he would have to hit Japan. He's going to go through Vietnam. The 9-dash line means Vietnam, South, the Koreas. The Koreas he just leaves alone. Philippines, and then all the way down to Australia. We've seen that with how they're setting up these islands. Australia is the Commonwealth. Then into Africa, South Africa. You've already seen what they've done with the Indians did and how they played black South Africans to destroy their own country, and how easy it was to pay off the persons of the ANC. It's quite sad, actually. So that is what I have as far as family business is concerned. The Conservative Party is trying to destroy the crown, and your brother is walking right into the trap because of the Queen Consort. I need to know the first place because I'm going to, $200,000 is because I need to buy a motorcycle and a bunch of other things, and that way I can just do what I need to do. And 2, because I've earned it. Not from you, but from the Democratic Party. And it shows that who they are. because I cannot be directly involved in politics. And they know this. Charles knows this. But I can be paid for my professional ability, which is branding. As evidenced, as I have stated, by both by Fortune 100 companies, former President Obama, use of my systems full sale, and even President Biden and even Bernie Sanders. But they'll spend big money on jackasses because they have to spend the money to pay me the money. Would mean they would have to acknowledge me. And the one thing antagonistic personality styles don't like to do is acknowledge others, except to dump their negative emotions. And then get like, whoa, why are you so upset? As I said, kindly bring Lady Markle under your wing. Prince Harry, Lady Markle's mother, because of the way children learn the rhythms and patterns, she can't be seeing your kids every day anymore. She needs to be a grandmother that sees her grandkids every month or so, like normal grandparents. Especially since she's purposefully trying to undercut the family and that she thinks she's in control of us. How dare her? Two has suggested you speak once again with Lady Markle's husband, father. You're Lady Markle's husband, Lady Markle's father, because they will repeat this. She will end up trying to get the kids to repeat the same pattern of attacking you. So that's a generational abuse pattern. Because see what happened. The reason, oh yeah, that's what happened. The reason I left, as I was talking about my mother, I did these things where, doing what I think I was doing right. My mom, once I told her she was gonna make, good money, just mailbox money, she can go do whatever she wants. She then attacked me, right? And she was undercutting things, and I'm sitting here watching, and so I was just actually in shock. Stealing my rings, stealing my rings she'd stole years ago, but my passport, I had to cancel my passport because I didn't know where she put it, in different things. That's why I can live in a mess, because I realized I would make a mess so my mom can't find my shit. You know, but I can remember everything in the mess. If a woman doesn't allow her kids to fruit free, she destroys them. And that's what Lady Markle's mom is going to do to the family if we do not contain her. Just like if we do not contain the Queen Consort. And that's why Queen Elizabeth was willing to do this contract that I personally, be honest with you, really, I'd just rather be by myself and be left alone, do my trade and go snowboarding, smoke my pot, buy my house, live a nice, boring, maybe 20 years of my life left. I'm 50, I'm 50. Yeah, maybe. And most of it's downhill and now the body's going to break down. So it's mostly like, hey. But duty is duty. And I will do I will keep my word only if the family keeps its. If it doesn't, well, there goes the neighborhood. There goes the world. Putin's growing desperate. Xi's going to go to Taiwan. And the 1% want to topple the great houses of Western Europe. houses and lodges of Western Europe. So, anyways, it's back to where I was saying. So, I guess it's very painful. It is a painful thing. Be honest with myself. You try to do what's right, and you get kicked in the teeth for it. But so, I had I come up with a plan, writing the thing. That's when I first ran around the ground. The second time I ran around the ground, and I had realized, talking to all of these real estate investors, the mom and pop real estate investors, and I was listening back to the patterns, and I learned who they all learned from. The ones who were making real good money, I realized who they learned from. They had all learned from Ron LeGrand. So I went and took courses from Ron LeGrand. I was going to buy it was a apartment complex, turned it into a condominium complex, but the guy who was the realtor who was doing it, he was such a shyster, and he was trying to set up the contract where he thought he would have control over anything I bought. And I'm sitting there watching him and listening to looking at the language, looking at this dude. I'm like, are you insane? But my mom was like, well, this is the guy that you blah, 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 because he was just like her. Now that I realized he was the same type of antagonistic BS personality style. He was using the same type of, and where I knew that's the last type of person I'd want to deal with. But that's also how Black Americans always end up in back into poverty. So work with somebody who who's just as clever, when in reality they're out clevering themselves. So the situation is, I'm sitting there doing this, and then, first my mom starts attacking me. I'm trying to get a deal another loan. She's constantly attacking. And it was the same attack that she used over and over again. So it's the slow, 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 slow. And then time passes by, and then blame, well, if you had only. This is the same thing that's being done with Tiffany Cross and the women of that same personality within the Black African American community. And I've seen her do this directly with people all the time, with women. And I start what's called eye coding each other. I'm like, really? I'm standing right here. And the most devastating times that my mother has done this, one was Cape Coast Conference, which is a wrestling conference. I was a stud. I should have won it, or at least came in the top three at worst. The day of Cape Coast Conference, you're in wrestling or you're doing anything competitive, that time before, you have to calm your mind, get ready to go, all this. That morning, I just stole the vehicle. Didn't start, and instead of being like a good mother, go, hey man, car's not running, could you get me down? She knew that there was a big conference. She can see me getting ready. My mind, she knows her rhythms. And that's when she strikes. And she's blah, blah, and then I'm getting angry and angry. I'm like, what? And I'm trying to get to the school. I'm trying to get to this conference. And she waits and 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 waits. And she's being just horrible. I get there, my mind's not in, and I couldn't get into the rhythm. I got stomped. One of the best wrestlers in the fucking state gets stomped by two squids because I wasn't in the mindset ready. And she did that on purpose. But do you know the part that sucks about this behavior? I was one of the best wrestlers on one of the best teams, and we didn't win Cape Coast Conference because I didn't produce. I let my teammates down. She didn't give a crap. Just like Dorma doesn't give a crap. Just like Camilla doesn't give a crap. Kathleen Kennedy doesn't give a crap. Just thinking about it irks me so bad still to this day. Cut me off from going to college wrestling because I love wrestling. It's who I am. I'm a wrestler. Always will be. Second time. This is what really. My buddy childhood friend. We're both, we're, you know, her mom, his mom's Jamaican. That was supposedly her friend. He was a ranger medic. Passes away on a jump. Main reason, actually the reason that I ended up going in the military. Passes away on a jump. And this is the same thing that Lady Markle did during the situation when she left Harry hanging. But she passes away on a jump. So we have the funeral coming up. The day of the funeral. All right. Got to go to the funeral. Got to do your duty. But it's pay your respects. And me, this is my friend. This is my childhood friend. I have to go home. And she does that same, slow things down, create chaos. I'm getting more and more frustrated, getting more angry, and then it's on me. But I didn't know these things. This antagonistic style is just horrid. We know better. As a family, we know better. She's late to this man's funeral, to my friend's funeral. She didn't have the courage to help her friend who's been there for the family all of these years. Later, a couple of years ago, I had to apologize to his brother. He retired as a sergeant major. I didn't have to, but I felt the need to because that was wrong. This is why I cannot go to DC. I cannot allow them to maintain the same behaviors because it'll affect millions and billions in a negative way. My brother, King Charles uses my brother. He will then use my brother to re-enslave the persons in the Commonwealth, even if they don't know it. I won't let that happen either. Not on my watch. Not under my name. They're gonna damn well try. And they'll keep trying. And they might succeed here and there. I'm not perfect. Nor do I try to be. I try to be my best, which means I'll never be perfect because I'm not God. I might be of God. We all are of God, but I am not perfect. I can only do my best. If my best is not good enough, cool. You do you. I got things to do. This is what's at stake. It was funny when I was watching the things with one of the Queen Elizabeth's had this, had one of her individuals talk about one of the moments she remembered was in her elder days. Two Americans strolling by and took a picture, a selfie of him because he'd met the Queen, and didn't know who the Queen was, which is pretty American actually. We're this king and the queen. That's cool, dude. She said she loved to be a fly on the wall. When they find out the picture they have, the selfie, they got themselves a selfie with the Queen. There's also another statement she was saying. She'd like to be a fly on the wall when the Americans find out everything I'm saying is true. Everything that's happened has been real. Will Americans do the right thing and stand up to tyranny? Or have they been so bamboozled for so long, caught in their anger for no reason, so that others can steal from them? We'll soon find out. November 8th is the election. November 3rd is when Trump's supposed to turn papers in that he's not going to do. We'll soon find out. Are we truly the home the land of the free, and the home of the brave. We'll truly soon find out. I do not like asking for anything. My sister and my mother, everyone will tell you that. This is not really so much as a request as a business loan. That's why it's backed as a business. And if you do not believe that I have the value of that small loan, I can understand. And I'll just move on. Because I know the Democrats aren't going to keep their word. They've proven who they are. When a person shows you who they are, believe them. Or an entity. And then, only thing as far as Ukraine is concerned is right now, gamers, we need to figure out how to get past that line on the north. And two, Putin is he's doing two things right now. With the dirty bomb thing, he believes that he can create enough fear in President Biden that he's trying to trigger a heart attack or some type of grand physical response in Biden to shut his body down or pretty much he's trying to kill him in absentia. And then he's working to break up the European Union because of the energy thing. And when people are cold and hungry, they don't fight as hard. And he knows that well. But the only way he's doing that is he's with his army. But then he puts a gun to their head. World War II all over again. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Which creates anger and rage, and then they point that rage to the other direction, towards the battlefield. That's basically how the Russians' way of war is. It's just rage, hate, and fear. First formation, go out there. It's kind of like what they shows where the enemy's at. Second formation breaks the enemy's line. Third formation, or echelon, continues down the road. Fourth echelon is the flights, is airplanes, which is basically still advanced. I just view the air as long distance artillery. So one of the things I need is we need to put small wind turbines. There's one where it looked like a box and the wind hits it and it looks like uses the Bernoulli effect to spin the turbine. They're very small. They fit on top of buildings. We need to be able to turn every building top in Ukraine into a power generation system. Wind is easier, especially with the ones that I'll find that one I was looking at. I'll post it on my Facebook page later today or tomorrow. So we need to know. So the whole grid production becomes distributed across all of the buildings within all of the country. Putin is hitting all the step-down transformer sites to make sure that Ukraine can't provide power to Europe at low rates. We need to get the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant eventually. But he's desperate. They're saying right now that the Wagner Group is Wagner. If you took German, it's Wagner. But using the Afghan commandos to fight us or fight the Ukrainians. I will tell the Afghan commandos, take the money, get to Ukraine, then leave the line. If you're in our roles, we will allow you clemency. Because I can tell you this as an American, as a veteran, we don't leave a man behind. The way Trump did things and then the way that withdrawals, we left you behind. And I tell you, and I will guarantee you, every veteran is more than livid. Every Afghanistan veteran is more than livid. We broke our promise to you. Take the Wagner's money, get to Ukraine, know that they're going to try to put a bullet in the back of your head if you don't, quote, comply. Learn as much as you can, get across the line into Ukraine, and if you're in our roles, we got you. And if the generals act stupid, we'll take care of them. The generals or the politicians. We leave no man behind. And it's tearing at us that we left you guys behind. Slava Ukraine. Glory to democracy. And may the flag forever wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.